My name is Brian Hoyer, KG6GEU.
You got something people have. The look on your face tells me you know what I'm going to ask.
Well, just go ahead, though.
You got something people have been waiting for a long, long time. A non-ICOM D-Star radio. Am I in the ballpark?
That's a part of the story. And yes, that's an important part because one of the holdbacks on D-Star has been, well, only ICOM makes the radios. And now we have a non-ICOM D-Star radio. So that's an important point. But I think the project's about a lot more than that.
I understand. Well, we'll talk about the details in a second, but it's not an add-on.
No.
It's a radio.
That's correct.
And it can do D-Star.
Yes, it's a 25-watt, 70-centimeter transceiver.
Okay, so just 70 centimeters. What are the other details that we ought to know about it?
Well, the most important thing is it's a platform radio. So it's actually a combination of a full Linux processor and a transceiver and a 30-watt PA all bundled together, so it doesn't have any knobs or buttons. It's a fully computer-controlled and configured radio.
Would you call it software-defined radio?
No, because software-defined radio refers to taking the RF spectrum and digitizing it A to D, D to A. What we have is we have an advanced transceiver chip which does standard digital modulation techniques like FSK, GMSK, 4FSK, and then on top of that, we have a soft protocol engine, which allows the higher level protocols like D-Star.
Okay, so to do D-Star, does it have like the AMBI 2020 vocoder, or did you get around that somehow?
Well, there's two parts to it. First off, D-Star has two modes. Now you have to understand that the full D-Star protocol is broader than what ICOM currently offers. So there are
I don't
other
understand
modes.
that, actually.
Okay, so the protocol is quite generic. It says we have two basic modes, DV, which is digital voice, and it has some residual digital data. There's also a DD mode.
Yeah, the 1200 megahertz.
Well, that's the part that's interesting. There's nothing about the protocol that says it has to be at 1200 megahertz.
Yeah, that's the only place they've put it.
That's correct. So if you look at the current offerings, ICOM has done DV on 2 meters, DV on 440, and DD on 1.2 gig.
And DV up there too, but
that doesn't mean you can't do anything else anywhere else.
Right.
And that's part of the interesting upside of the flexible protocol. So back to the AMBI part. AMBI's only required for DV. It's not required for DD.
Okay.
So our base radio comes without the AMBI chip, but if you want to do DV, then it's an add-on board.
All right.
In fact,
is that the ICOM, the UT, whatever it is that you just plug in here?
It's similar to that. That's a bit more complicated because it actually has the modulator on it as well.
Okay, so you got your own board.
It's the same kind of architecture, but our add-on board is simpler because we already have the GMSK modulator.
So it's your own board?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you mentioned a bunch of other digital protocols and modes compatible with the stuff used in ham radio like P25 and Moto Turbo. How close do we get to those?
No, those are different protocols on that side. The protocols we currently support is all the old legacy AX25 stuff.
Okay.
But that's actually currently used a lot for both email and for APRS, and that's got an interesting kind of a resurgence because we're bringing that back at higher data rates, 9600 to 56K.
Okay, so what I'm starting to understand is that, well, this will do some voice modes. You have targeted it primarily toward high-speed data.
That's correct.
All right, so it's taking a little thick. It takes me a little while to get through here. So it's, you said 25, 35 watt?
25 watts. 25
watt, UHF, data radio for the AX25 and the other packet capabilities, but you can add the Motorola, the ICOM digital data, D-Star, and you
Not exactly, Gary. The digital D-Star is built into it.
Okay, that's built in.
It's built into.
And you can add the voice if you want.
Now, do keep in mind for many applications like a D-Star gateway, you don't need the voice because although voice is going through the gateway, it's not being decoded there.
Yeah, the ICOM repeaters don't have the AMBI module in them.
That's
so
correct.
You could use this, well, could you use it as a repeater? Is it got the specs to be a transmitter and receiver together?
It is a transmitter receiver, but it's not full duplex. So the current product offering is not a duplex device and couldn't be a repeater.
Okay.
It could be a gateway.
So I'm trying to push you into different product categories. Let's find out what category you really are in.
Well, you know, if you look at the full duplex mode, that's certainly something we're looking at and considering, and something which, once we get this product out and launched, being a brand new company with its first product, we're making sure we get this one right before we go on to the Talk Market Excellence.
Well, tell me a little bit about the company.
Okay, the company's got 4 individuals in it. It started up in San Juan Islands, Washington with Basil and I. As it turns out, Basil and I worked together a block apart in Santa Cruz, California, and didn't even know each other. We moved to the islands and met over ham radio. At that time, they were rolling out their first 1200 baud packet system. And I looked at it and said, that's kind of underwhelming to me, that in this day and age, we're only doing 1200 baud.
Yeah, we wonder why we're stuck down there.
So at the same time, Basil, with his Linux experience, got together a little thing called the Shiva plug, which is a small portable Linux server, and started building up some of the packet mechanisms that are available open source. And we cobbled together a system which we put in a 50 caliber ammo can and called it RMS Gateway in a Box. We took that down to DCC in Vancouver, Washington, where we ran into John Hayes, who's the other important person in the company. John was giving a D-Star seminar, and when he got down to the end, his last slide had a line that said, "Things I'd like to see." And on it was, I'd like to see a digital radio with reasonable power and reasonable speeds that simply has RF on one end and Ethernet on the other. And I went to him and said, John, I want to build that radio. And here we are.
All right, so packet itself was big, starting in the 80s and through the 90s. And then when the internet came around, packet, the 1200 baud packet with PBBSs and stuff like that, it didn't disappear, but it is a shell, a ghost of its former self. So what are we doing with this stuff now?
Okay, so if you look at the reason that packet died away, it wasn't because of the bit rate. After all, D-Star is very popular, and it runs at 4,800 bits per second, which only gives you less than 1,200 baud over the digital channel. Packet died because of a combination of, as you mentioned, internet and cell phones came out, but also there was no manufacturers that provided turnkey solutions to allow you to operate radios at the higher baud rates. It was still a cobbled together out of my garage, get an old PC, buy a TNC, buy a radio, and start building cables to put it together. Now, a few individuals were willing to make that cut, but it never had enough momentum behind it to get it going. So I think with this radio product, what we're starting to see is people who have been using packet are once again interested in it.
So this will be aimed, or at least a part of the market is packet networks, individuals and nodes, and basically rebuilding the packet infrastructure that we had, sort of, and then kind of fell apart?
Exactly, we can rebuild that, but at the same time, we've got the D-Star capabilities, so we can work with the people who are moving that forward. You know, my basic philosophy is all things digital. You mentioned P25. We have basic capabilities. We're willing to put any open protocol onto the radio that makes sense for the amateur community.
Okay, so let's take a look at the device itself for a moment here.
Okay.
And see what the form factor is and what it can do. It's a box with a circuit board inside and a heatsink on the bottom, Ethernet, USB.
Let me walk you through it, Gary.
I don't see a microphone or a Morse code key anywhere.
If I may, let me walk you through it, and I'll kind of describe it. So first off, it's a Eurocard form factor, so it's 100 by 160 millimeters. It's split into two boards. This board over here is the Linux processor. That's running an 800 meg ARM processor, and that's actually a chip which was designed for the pad industry. This connector here is the console port. An actual user would never use that. That's only a debug facility for bring up.
Okay, so it's talking to a computer, but normally it wouldn't be talking at least that way.
That normally wouldn't be there. On this side is the radio card, and you can see here the big brick, that's the power amplifier. You mentioned the heatsink. The heatsink is much larger than you typically find on a 25 watt radio. And that's because we go into digital modes, we can put the hammer down and move a lot of data, and we're going to see much higher duty cycles.
Yeah, you're practically 100% sometimes.
Certainly.
All right, so it's that's what it looks like. And to operate it, I guess it operates standalone once you get the parameters all set?
Depending on the application. If you're at your home office, let's say you were in an EOC and you wanted to do email. You could put this and connect it like we have here to a wireless access point, and then multiple hams could come in with their laptops, come in through our interface, which is web-based, so there's no application software required, runs on all platforms, and multiple hams could have access to radio email via the WinLink system. Okay. That's one application. If it was installed as a D-Star gateway, once it's configured, it'd be hooked into the network and you wouldn't require a computer at all. Everything is happening right there.
All right. So it took me a while to get my head wrapped around it, and the audience is smarter than me, but it will take them a while to get their head wrapped around it. Hopefully by this point, they'll have gotten it figured out, and people will be checking this out. Where can they find you?
Well, they can find us at nwdigitalradio.com. If you go there, there's a small amount of information because we're not in production yet, but there's a subscription tab, and if they subscribe, they'll receive email notices as we have release data, and also get a coupon for a discount when we have pre-orders.
Okay, do you have a target price range?
Yeah, we work very hard. Building a product at a price point's difficult. You have to look very, very carefully at the feature set and what you can include and what can you leave out.
Yeah.
Our target price, well, it's not a target price, it's the price. The price is $395.
Okay, well, for a radio that does all that, that doesn't sound astronomical to me. There are extra things you can put on it that will be extra cost add-ons.
Let's talk about the extra things.
Sure.
One is the Ambi card, if you need that. That's $95. But there's also some extra things you might want to do which you might not buy from us. For example, we have 4 USB ports on there. This model on the desk here is running a GPS. That's obviously something you could buy and add. You could put a USB headset in there and get back that voice capability. You could put a data logging through a flash drive, or you add your favorite telemetry thing for APRS, weather station.
All right, so it's very flexible. It is taking us back to someplace that we had been and pushing us forward to someplace we haven't been yet at the same time.
I think the best comment I've heard is one guy came by, looked at it and said, and he was involved in early packet, and he said, I think this will create a renaissance in packet radio. And that's how I think of it. It's not new technology, but let's go revisit what we've done and see if we can do it again a little better.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a shame that when the internet came along, the packet system died, or at least became a shadow of itself. Because even at 1200, it provided something that when the internet went away, we really needed, because now everyone was so dependent on data communication that when the internet goes away, they don't want us picking up microphones. They want their email back.
That's right.
And Packet was gone. It could have done that.
And yet Packet's not gone. Packet as an operating went away, but Packet's still well alive via the WinLink system for email. And still many people in MCOM use it at 1200 baud on 2 meters to get their radio mails out. Yeah,
but we could use a huge packet system.
I think so.
It would be great to get out to the county EOCs in rural areas around the states because in the urban areas, when communication system dies, there's a lot of ways around that. In the small counties, they're dead. They've got nothing.
Well, Gary, I live in an island, and we live in an island in the middle of nowhere.
You know what I'm talking about.
And what happens is there's really one big fat cord that connects us, and someone in the mainland, once in a while, they kick the cord out, and down we go. And we have a packet system there that we make it a point to see if we can contact people on the mainland in different counties and even in Canada, so we can get on different PSTN systems, different internets, and find connectivity that way.
So now I know what was behind wanting to do this. It was you can get out again.
Actually, like a lot of things, the initial implementation came from, I think we kind of need this.
Yeah. And plus, you wanted to. It was fun. Have you been involved in Packet back in the day yourself?
Well, that's an interesting point. I've got a long career in Silicon Valley as an engineer, but I didn't actually get my ham license until 2000. And the reason I got it was I bought a boat, thought I'd sail around, so I got involved with sail mail, so I could have a way to have HF email from a boat.
And a lot of sailors do that, and that's the start and finish of their ham radio career. So when they're on the boat, they use ham radio, they check into the maritime net, and that's about all. They don't want to write you. They want to do their sail mail, and that's about it. Sounds like ham radio got into your blood a little more. Well, I got rid of the boat and decided to move north, and when I did, yes, you're right, it kind of dropped. But you're on an island, you don't want a boat? With the local MCOM system. Well, I had a house to build, it kind of got in the way. So I looked at the MCOM system, and it kind of sparked me and said, well, I've got this ham radio license, what can I do with it? All right, so you found something to do with it, and Absolutely. It sounds cool. Well, I hope this works. I'm sort of looking forward to seeing one on the shelf of my ham shack, because data's, I want to get back into it. Well, thank you, Gary. All right, thank you.